Hi everyone, well it's Sunday morning and I'm here inside a school. Now I don't advise working Sunday mornings, but this week it couldn't be helped, and I have another school to do this evening when the kids are down in bed. So it's all busy around here, but that's because it's the school season for us, and we also have a big job in a prison doing work for a builder. So that's kind of why it's busy this last couple of weeks, and that's not always going to be the case. But sometimes it's a matter of grabbing opportunities, like doing work for this builder. We don't know where the next job will be, we get paid very well for it, and we don't know what kind of leads that might make, because we're setting ourselves up there as a company that knows what we're doing when it comes to initial cleans. We're not going to scratch any of their glass. And as they're dealing with very prestigious jobs and prestigious buildings, and they want to kind of grow that side of their business to doing prestige stuff. We want to show that we're able for any of their prestige jobs. So that's kind of why we're taking on that stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily advise working on a Sunday, and I know a few of you guys are out there today finishing off schools, and that can't always be helped. Sometimes it's safe in the knowledge that when winter comes, again, for me and my business, we don't go down to zero or anything like that, but the 5-6 days a week might become 4, and that's just the regular stuff keeps going. And like I've talked before about the importance of keeping the regular stuff going all the time, that's kind of what that is about. But what I wanted to talk to you about is the fact of earning money and being able to charge customers big money. We're here on the school today, and the question that seems to be coming my way on the messages all the time is, how do you know what to charge? And how do you come up with your day rate? And I suppose what we've been very successful in doing, in comparison to maybe some of the other window cleaners, maybe in the UK they have this down a bit better, but here in Ireland and in other countries, it can be hard. It can be fine enough getting your price for a certain job, but what we've managed to do in our business is really concentrate the jobs into the one area, so that we work in just areas, and people have to wait a certain amount of time if they're not regulars, depending on when we're in the area and stuff like that. So I suppose we started maximizing profitability by charging the best prices that we could, and for us that was doing stuff for the same price, or maybe only £1 or 2 more than other guys, but because we're using the water-fed pole, and because we're really good at what we're doing. Like, the job that I try to do is I try to do a really good job, but I'm also a business person, so I'm there to get it done in the shortest time possible. So even when I'm cleaning a window, and all respect to people out there that are out there to do a perfect job every single time, but I don't aim for perfection every time. And I suppose that's a very odd thing to say, because in my opinion, you can do a 97% job. That was my phone ringing there, sorry, so I had to stop that. Yeah, so the 97% can be done in, say, I don't know, an hour, but you can spend another hour doing the 97% to the 100% job. And I suppose it depends on the customer. Like, we have customers and we have jobs where they want the 100%. But my fear is that there's so many lads going around. First of all, there's so many lads going around doing a 50% job, and it takes them an hour, because they're either not very mechanically they're not very good with their hands, and they're not watching what they're doing enough, and they're not practiced enough, and they're not trying to improve their way of water-fed poling, say. And that's something we do all the time, of trying new ways of being better at what we do. And I don't think people innovate like that and they just stay at the one level. I also think people scrub too much and they rinse too much when the windows aren't too dirty. So some guys do a 50% job, and it takes them an hour, but because their technique isn't fully down. And I think other people then spend 2 hours to do 100% job when the 97% was only the job that was asked for by the customer. And I think that's a really important point. Like if somebody wants me to do 100% job that's going to take 2 hours, well then I'll charge them the rate of 2 hours. Whereas guys still charge them the rate that I would for the 97%. And the 97% can be perfectly acceptable, a great job. And maybe the 1% is, a tiny bit of detailing on getting a few paint flicks off, or just kind of just really, getting up the ladder to check something. I don't know what it would take for the extra 3%, but I'm talking that small of a detail. So I think it's really important not to stress over the 3%, unless somebody is willing to pay for it. So we'll go in and say it's €20, £20 for a certain size job. We're all about efficiency. So we drive into their property, whether it's arranged, we have an appointment that time, or they're a regular and we just turn up. So say it's a regular and we just turn up. We turn up and we've got a 2-man van system. So both back doors open, the poles are there, 2 buttons at the door and walk out. There's no messing, gathering stuff, sorting out reels, trying to pull half the van out. No, open the doors, grab 2 poles and out you go and you're gone. And you start working away. The whole job is done in 10 minutes. We put a docket in the door, we come back to the van, both gets reeled in a few seconds, poles go back in the holders, and we're on to 50 yards down the road to the next 2 houses, and close and close and close and close and close. There's no crazy driving. Or if say there's driving to get to an area, we do that before hours. So if the first appointment starts at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, depending on what it is, we take the driving time out of the 7 to 7:30 time, or the 6:30, or as it is with this big job down in the prison, we're doing it from 6 till 8. Sort of not letting that eat into your time. So our thing is about banging out as many jobs as we can during the daytime when you have the extra person's wages that you're paying for. So there's no messing, there's no fixing stuff, everything's fixed, everything's prepared, so that in the daytime there's the minimal driving and the best ease of doing it, out the van and in. So then that's how we come up with our best day rate, that we squeeze jobs as tightly together as we can. Now we're not running around the place, but we're working hard. And then what we do is we work in those areas and we try and maximize, and we make full days out of areas. So then what we can do is we can come up with what is our day rate. And then that's how we know what to charge schools. We know what to charge our commercial stuff, is we go in there and say, well, that's a day. And on our best days of domestic stuff that we can cram all these kind of houses together, we make X amount. So that's what we have to charge for a day, because why would we do other stuff for that amount if we can do our domestic stuff that's easy, that's regular, and get this much money in a day? Why do we do all this other stuff? So that's really how we work out our day rate. But I suppose just from talking to guys, I see people go into jobs that are brand new customers and spending 3 hours instead of 1 hour because something was really bad, and they're trying to be a perfectionist about something, and they travelled an hour to get there and an hour back, and they've earned 50 quid for the whole day. I see people driving miles and miles, taking ages. I don't know why it takes them so long to do a job, and they get 1 or 2 jobs in the entire day. Whereas we're on about everything in the van is structured. Everything is easy to reach. We go, we're methodical in what we do, we work hard, the stuff is back in the van, and then we're going on to the nearest job to that, so that we can just go concisely and quickly between the jobs, so that we can maximize the amount of jobs that we do in the daytime. And sure, we take a break for coffee, and sure, we take 15 minutes for lunch with a coffee and something to eat, but as well as that, how many hours do you actually work? Like I'm up every day for 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I'm at the first job for 6:30, 7 o'clock. A lot of times I'm, down on the shops and stuff like that, doing that early morning. So instead of trying to find parking in the middle of the day, customers here, there, electric doors, can we get them closed? I blitz €100 or 100 quid in an hour and a half from 7 till 8:30 before the gang even get there for work, the employees, before any of that stuff happens, so that there's a great start on the day already. But it's been so easy. I put these in and I enjoy my work. Like, none of it is a burden, and it's about maximizing the day. And I think that's just something that I think if you've not done commercials and you haven't done all the paperwork for the commercials and you don't know how to price it and you're kind of stuck in a bit of a rut and you're traveling miles between jobs, I think the next step in business is to maximize each day so that you can get the best day rate. And then once you get that day rate, then I start looking on, right, can I put €1, £1 on? When was the last time those jobs had a price increase? 3 or 4 years ago. So if I put £1 more or €1 more or $1 more on each of those jobs, well, then that will equal X amount more in a day, which bumps our day rate up again. Oh, look, there's these customers over here. They haven't had a price increase for that time. And then when you get new customers that ring, and our phone is hopping with brand new customers, we can just say to them, that job is 100. Oh, wow, the last guy charged 60. Cool, I'm not going to pay that for my stuff. And it's like, it's okay. That's fine. That's no problem. That's what we get. That's what and again, you're not Billy going out on a job who gets paid this, that, and the other. You are, it's your company. Well, our company has extra costs in comparison to those companies. So we have to charge more for our services, because I'm afraid you're not really comparing like with like. Like, we are fully insured. We have all the manual handling and courses like that done. Fully insured, so if anything happens on your property, we're covered. You have easy payment options with card machines, calling an office to take card payment. We're not just taking cash jobs and stuff like that. Again, fully uniformed staff, all of that sort of stuff. That's what you're paying for when you get us to come in, versus somebody that has, that might do a perfectly good job, isn't providing that same product. And sometimes when you explain it to them and say, have they said that they're insured, so that if they fall on their property, they're not going to sue you. Sometimes, now again, we're not so desperate for work that we have to go explaining that stuff to people, but at the same time, sometimes it's all about being secure in what you do. And again, if you complete the job and somebody says, you did that very fast, you guys are on huge money, and let's face it, our company does make a lot of money, your company makes a lot of money in comparison to other people. We can say, yeah, we have to charge because we have to give, we're VAT registered, so a big lump of that 100 has to go to the revenue commissioners or the VAT man. And we're insured, uniformed, there's an office staff doing this, that, and the other. So, all of that has to be paid for. So I'm afraid that's why it has to be that amount of money. It's not just us calling up here. The system that's in the van costs a lot of money to run and to keep. So I'm afraid that's why we have to charge people the way that we do. And having that confidence behind you to blurt that out, not to kind of, well, maybe I could do it for 80 for you or anything like that. But when you have your set yourself up properly, you know exactly how to charge, because you're all keeping to your day rate. So that's that video interrupted for a second time, and this time it was none other than Harry Turks. And if you've watched the video this far, check out Harry's second latest video, outtakes of the year, because there is some real funny stuff on that. I feature on it a good bit, and that's why it's so funny. I bring the comedy factor. So watch it and have a bit of a laugh, because it was very funny.